I'm watching this commercial. I'm watching this little boy. He got a baseball bat, he got his hat on, and he's standing there. And he started to confess and profess something that was profound. He said, I am the greatest hitter in the world. And he grabbed the ball, he throws the ball up, and he swings the bat, he misses. God. He reached back down, he picks up the ball. He stands again. And he said, I am the greatest hitter in the world. He throws it up, he swings, he misses. He picks the ball up, he turns his hat backwards. 2 strikes. And he said, I am the greatest hitter in the world. He throws the ball up and he misses it. Swings, falls down. And he begins to look. He picks up the ball. He picks up the bat. And he stands. And he said, I'm not the greatest hitter in the world. He said, I am the greatest pitcher in the world. Same bat, same ball, same boy. He just changed his perspective from being the greatest hitter to the greatest pitcher because he was pitching to himself. And since he struck out, he said he was the greatest. Sometimes it's not what we see. It's the way we see it. And when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at will begin to change. Sometimes our perspective just have us looking at it one way when it may be another way. If I held a quarter up to the screen right now and you were looking at heads, I would only see tails. And you could tell me all day it's heads. But if I'm only seeing tails, I'm just going to keep looking at tails. If I turn it around, then you see tails and I see heads. But the kicker is this. Can we agree that it's 25 cents? Can we agree that it's a quarter? Even though we're looking at the same thing from 2 different sides. And sometimes our perspective is off. You know how many times I've looked at the right thing the wrong way and misjudged it? Thought it was something and it wasn't. And I assumed, and it really was not what I thought it was. So in the spirit of the little boy who confessed that he was the greatest hitter and then changed and turned around and said he was the greatest pitcher, I want to ask you a question. Who are you and what are you? And what are you saying about yourself? Because when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at will begin to change. If we want to see something different, we have to say something different. And if we don't like what we're seeing, we have to ask ourselves, what have we been saying? The power of words. Because I realize that I can speak life and cause things to live before they come alive. Or I can speak death and cause things to die before they're even dead. When I speak life and say it's possible, when I speak life and say I can, when I speak life and say, I believe I can do this, I'm speaking life, causing that thing to live before it even really fully comes alive. I'm looking at a kid. You dummy, you stupid, you'll never be able to make it. You don't have what it takes. I spoke death, I caused them to die before they're even dead. Because life and death are in the power of the tongue. Perspective. Is the glass half empty or is the glass half full? It's not just what we see, but it's the way we see it. It's the perspective. And how many times have we looked at things from one way and thought that that was the only way to see it? I date myself when I say this, but my grandmother used to hang her clothes out on the clothing line. And when she would hang her clothes out on the clothing line, they would be hanging up and she would put them in the washer and hang them out. And so there was this old man who used to look outside of his window. He would say, look at that woman. She keeps hanging those dirty clothes out on the clothing line. And he would drink his coffee and look out the window. Look at that woman. She keep hanging them dirty clothes out on the clothing line. And one day his kids pressure washed his house and pressure washed his windows. And he come downstairs the next day. And he's drinking his coffee and he looks out. He said, oh my God, somebody must have finally told her to hang out some clean clothes. She finally hung out some clean clothes. Because all of the time he thought that her clothes were dirty. But it was really his windows that were dirty. And so everything he saw looking out of the window looked dirty. Somebody's watching me right now. And I'm going to ask you to clean your lenses today, meaning clean your perspective. Don't prejudge it just based on what you think it is. Make sure you look behind the scene and see what it really is. You know, it's like the man who was walking and fell in the hole and he started screaming, help, help, help. He's down in the hole screaming for help. And they said, an educator walked by and said, oh my God, he's falling in the hole. And she dropped a book down in the hole and said, hey, read that book entitled 5 Steps on How to Get Out of the Hole. And he read the book and he was still stuck in the hole. He started screaming again, help, help, help. And see, a pastor who was a motivational speaker as well saw him down in the hole. He started screaming, you come out of the hole. Say this with me. I'm coming out of the hole. I'm coming out of the hole. You got what it takes. In the name of, you come out of that hole now. And the boy was still stuck down in the hole. And he started screaming again, thinking that no one would hear him. Help! Help! And so everyday person was walking by. He said, hey man, you got to look at that new podcast they got called How to Get Out of the Hole. And he dropped the cell phone down in there and he began to watch the podcast on how to get out of the hole. And he watched it. And he watched it. And he watched it. And he still couldn't get out of the hole. And then that person that no one expected, that no one thought would even be capable, was walking by and saw him and said, hey bro, you stuck down in the hole. And they say the man looked like he was homeless, but he said, you stuck down in the, he said, yeah. Man, the man jumped down in the hole with him. The man said, what's wrong with you? Why would you jump down in this hole? Now both of us are stuck in the hole. You could have dropped the ladder. You could have called the fire department. You could have dropped the rope. You could have done anything. Now both of us are stuck in the hole. What were you thinking, man? And the man said, I jumped down in this hole because I've been down in this hole before. And I know that you can't tell a person how to get out of this hole. You got to show them. And sometimes we're trying to tell people what we should be trying to show them. And what we should be showing them is a different perspective. And what I'm asking you to do is when you got the right perspective and you can see it the right way, through the right lens, you'll get the right results. A lot of people hear me say the same thing over and over, but I always say when you're at the right place, at the right time, with the right people doing the right thing the right way, you will get the right results. And when you see it with the right perspective, you'll get the right results. Hope is not enough, but you still gotta have it. When you got hope, you get motivation. Because hope gives you that motivation. But when you got motivation, it makes you put forth effort. When you put forth effort, you get the results. But you don't get the results if you don't put forth effort. And you don't put forth effort if you don't have any motivation. And you don't have any motivation if you don't have any hope. But hope alone is not enough. But you still gotta have it.